Happy New Year. Happy 2024. I'm Amanda. This is the Happy Homestead. Thank you for joining me. We are kicking off January just like I have for the past 3 years. This is the 4th year that I am participating in the Pantry Challenge, the Three Rivers Challenge by my friend Jessica over at Three Rivers Homestead. I'm in great company because there's a lot of amazing homesteaders, YouTubers, farmers, homemakers, everyone in between that are participating in this year's Pantry Challenge, and you should too. The whole premise is that you set your own rules, you set your own limits, but basically you try to not spend as much as you normally would, if anything, at the grocery store for the month of January, maybe February as well if you're adventurous, and some even go into March. We're gonna go for January and February this year, just as I have in previous years. My goal for the month of January is to spend zero. It's a big goose egg, $0 on food in the entire month of January. And then in February, I'm going to allow myself $100 for the month. That might be in one big trip. It might be spread over a couple of different trips throughout the month, but my goal is to not go over $100. The whole purpose of this is not only to save money, but to use what you have. You would probably be surprised what kind of meals you can come up with and how much food you actually have in your home, whether it be your refrigerator, your freezer, your pantry, wherever, right? You'd probably be surprised how much food you actually have, how far you can get. And now, it may not always be exciting, but that's where creativity can come in. And that is where you really kind of push through. And so we're kicking it off today. Today is actually January 2nd. I have no idea what day of the week it is. Tuesday. Oh, it's a Tuesday, January 2nd. We have been out vacationing, spending time with family, doing all of the things for the holidays. And I haven't really actually made dinner in probably about a week or so. So I'm excited to be back in the kitchen, and I'm excited to feed and nourish my family. So because we got home really late last night, so normally this starts on January 1st, but we were out of town. We got home around 9 o'clock last night, late night. And that's just how it is for us. And so January 2nd, we start the challenge. And I really wanted tonight to be easy, to be nourishing, again, using what we have. So we tonight are going to be having roasted chicken. This is one of my favorite things to do because it's so easy. Now, back in the day when I didn't really know what I was doing in the kitchen, I would never have known how to cook a chicken in the oven. Like, that just was never in my repertoire. I don't remember my mom doing that. Sorry, Mom. I just don't remember anyone doing that. And it is the easiest thing to do. And I'm going to show you how to do it with very minimal effort. We're also going to have some green beans. We're going to go into the pantry and get some canned green beans that we grew and canned last year. And I'm going to spice it up a bit, right, with just chicken and green beans. We're going to make a potato au gratin. So that's what we're going to do together as well. So let's start by getting some potatoes. I have them in our garage. I'm going to show you where they are because it's pretty cool right now, and it's a great place to keep them so that it's cool and semi-dark. Oh, look, there's potatoes. Now, normally I would have put the lid on that bucket, but it was too full. The lid would not screw on. Maybe after today it will. So we're going to start with getting the au gratin recipe together. Now, this is something very similar. Once again, years ago, I would have never thinked that I could just put a potato au gratin together. But again, I'm going to hopefully demystify it for you if it's daunting in your mind, because it's so easy. We're just going to, on a cast iron skillet on the stove, we're going to saute some sliced onions. I've got 1 1/4 onions here. We're going to slice them very thin, saute them in some butter. In the meantime, while that's going, we're going to be taking our yellow, these are yellow Yukon Golds. They're kind of tiny here, but I'm going to be slicing them very thin. You can do this either via a mandolin, which is what I'm going to be using, or you can just do it with your knife on the counter or on a cutting board, but making sure that you're getting it about an 1/8 inch thickness, and you want to get them as even as possible. I am only doing a round cast iron pan's worth of a gratin. I am not really intending during the challenge to make really large meals with a lot of leftovers. I do have all of my meal plans planned out for the next 5 weeks, and one night I do have kind of earmarked for leftovers just so that nothing is going to waste. But kind of think about that with your family, and do they like leftovers or not, right? Are you going to be cooking a meal every night? So kind of think about that and the portion sizes that you're doing. So I'm just going to start with doing the onion. I don't have a shallot. If I had a shallot, I would do that instead. And that's enough. So we're going to go put this in our cast iron skillet with about 1 to 2 tablespoons of butter. Okay, I have that on a medium-low heat just to kind of help soften the onions. Now, also in the meantime, before I actually start slicing the potatoes, I have a very small saucepan here. Put that on the burner. I'm going to add about a cup, maybe a little over a cup of, well, normally you would do heavy cream. My milk, for some reason, is a little naturally homogenized, and it's probably because it was in the back of a truck for 9 hours yesterday, so it may have actually homogenized while it was in the truck. But I'm just going to take about a cup of this whole milk, hopefully getting as much cream as possible, and putting it in the saucepan. I am also going to put just a little bit of minced garlic along, it's kind of in an olive oil. I'm just going to put a little bit of that in with my milk, as well as some salt, pepper, and dried thyme. All we're really doing with the milk on the stove here, I'm just going to move around my onions, is really infusing the garlic into kind of the cream, the milk mixture, and getting the flavor integrated throughout. So you're not really cooking the milk, right? You don't want to get it too high. You don't want to burn it. Just low heat, infusing your garlic. If you don't have minced garlic and oil, that's okay. All you need to do is just get 1 or 2 crushed cloves of garlic and throw it in, and then you can always take that out before you pour it into your potato mixture. Okay, the onions are really softened. I'm gonna turn the burner off and just leave them here. I'm spreading them out because we're gonna be layering our potatoes on top of this. So I kind of don't want them all bunched up on one side. And the milk is over here infusing with the garlic, salt, pepper, and thyme. So we're gonna go ahead and start slicing our potatoes. Now, the amount of potatoes you're gonna need really depends on how big of a au gratin dish you're making. Are you making a 9 by 13 pan, or are you doing an 8 by 8? Or maybe you're doing like an 8 or a 9 inch round cast iron like I am. So I've preheated the oven to 350 degrees. We're gonna start slicing, and then we'll start layering on top of the onions. Now, it's very important if you're working with a mandolin that you are careful and extremely aware of what you're doing. I'm holding this with my hand, but as this gets lower, I will start to use the guard. Okay, that is about 5 medium potatoes. I'm gonna start with this and take this over to the cast iron pan and start putting them in and layering them in. So all I did was layer the potatoes, pour the infused milk or cream mixture on top. I covered it with foil to kind of keep all the heat and the steam and the flavor inside and cook those potatoes. And I set my timer for 1 hour. In the meantime, I'm gonna clean up and we'll get the chicken ready to go in the oven. Now at the 1 hour mark, when the timer goes off for the potatoes, I'm gonna take some cheese that we've got in the refrigerator, Gruyere, Parmesan, Romano, all really good flavors. And we're gonna shred some cheese, put it on top, and turn the broiler on. This is pastured chicken. I am just gonna put this here in my Dutch oven. As always, if you know anything about our kitchen here, we love Redmond real salt and Redmond products. It's the only real salt and salt that I have in the house. And so this is organic lemon pepper seasoning, and in it is organic dehydrated lemon peel, black pepper, all of this is organic, black pepper, dehydrated garlic, dehydrated onion, and dehydrated thyme leaves. So it's just all put together. It's so easy. All I gotta do is sprinkle it on the chicken. You could do seasoning salt. You could just do salt and pepper if you'd prefer to do that. We put it in the Dutch oven, put the lid on and put it in, and I promise you it is the most delicious roasted chicken, and the skin does get crispy. You do not need to add any oil or butter or anything like that. And inevitably, when I open meat, somebody always knows what's going on. Every time. It doesn't matter what meat it is. Marley knows something's happening. So I always put the breast of the chicken up, and there's still some ice crystals in here. I actually took this out of the freezer last night, so it is still very cold, but I promise it'll still cook beautifully. I'm just gonna start sprinkling the Redmond real salt all over. And this is going to feel like a lot of seasoning. You just have to trust me and go with it and put some inside. Because after I cook a chicken, I am always making bone broth. And this automatically just kind of seasons the bone broth beautifully too. I'm gonna cook this one without the trivet. Put the lid on. So because I just put the chicken in, I will probably take the au gratin potatoes out once the timer goes off and just leave them here on the stove top and let the chicken cook. I might actually put the temperature up to 375, let the chicken cook. Once that is done, we'll sprinkle our cheese on our potatoes and put it under the broiler. So I went into the pantry and got a quart of green beans. These are actually green beans from July of 22. So these need to be eaten first before we go to last year's beans. And I wanted to get my cheese going for the au gratin. I wanted to grate my cheese. And so I make a lot of our own cheese. Last year I went on a cheese making binge. We have so much cheese in this house, which is a blessing to a cheese lover's heart. So I went and pulled out some wine smoked manchego. And then I have a little bit of a Parmesan. Obviously, it's not a true Parmigiano Reggiano because it's not from Italy, but it is a Parma, kind of like Grana style cheese. So I'm gonna grate up some of the Parmesan as well as the Manchego, and we're gonna use that for our gratin. And I totally forgot to mention in the beginning when I'm talking about the rules for the challenge. So I purchase eggs just about every week from Jen at Big October, and that is not gonna stop, I don't think. I mean, we still have a lot of eggs that we've water glassed and freeze dried. So I do need to use the water glassed eggs first, but I do still intend to purchase some fresh eggs throughout the challenge. So I'm leaving that as my my exception, if you will, that doesn't count towards any money being spent. Along with that, we are in a herd share for raw A2 milk, and I get a gallon of milk every week as well. And I'm not stopping that either. We do need our fresh milk, and I intend to enjoy all of the bounty that that gallon will give us week after week during the challenge.
Yeah, there you go. Well down. Find the time that you want. I wanted to see if you had some time to talk. Yes, we did. I think you did as well.
Dinner is done. It looks and smells delicious. We've got our roasted chicken, green beans, and that beautiful caramelized top of the potato au gratin. First night for us, the 3 Rivers Pantry Challenge is in the books. Bon appetit.